All right, second grade. Today is lesson 12-5, measure with centimeters. I can estimate measures and use a ruler to measure the length and height to the nearest centimeter. Okay, we're working with a different unit of measurement today. Not inches, not feet, not yards. We're working with centimeters. And I know some of you have already talked about centimeters in first grade. Try to remember what you know about centimeters. Are they longer than an inch or shorter than an inch? Before you go grabbing your rulers, let's take a look at what our friend here is telling us on Solve and Share. The green cube is 1 centimeter long. How can you use 1 centimeter cubes to find the length of the line in centimeters? Measure the line and explain. So he's telling us that this green cube right here is 1 centimeter long. Right? So that end to that end is 1 centimeter. Now, what would you do to find out how long this line is without using a ruler? Now, if you think back to that inches lesson that we did last week, we used a 1-inch square and we aligned it up all along the side, end to end on the line to find out how long that line was. We would do the same thing here. We'd take this green cube, line it up like that, all the way until we got to the end of the line. We're going to be a little sloppy here, all the way to the end of the line. Now, is the way that I just drew this an accurate way, a correct way to measure this line? It's not, because the mistake I made here is that I left us some spaces in between each cube. So what you would want to do, right, just like we did with the orange square, you'd want to line them up end to end so there's no gaps. All right, you're going to have a different version of this line on your screen since we're all using different screens. Then after this, you can take your ruler and measure this line. And the other challenge I want to ask you, the challenge question I want to ask you for this lesson is, what if you had 20 1 centimeter cubes, right? You had 20 of these cubes. They're all 1 centimeter long. And then all 20 of them fit on that line. So how long would that line be if all 20 of your cubes fit on the line? Then we're going to go to our visual learning boxes at the top here, and it's going to define a centimeter for us. 1 centimeter is smaller than 1 inch. So go ahead, you can take a look at this ruler here on your screen, or you can take a look at the real ruler you have, and there should be 2 sets of numbers. Do you see how the 1 centimeter mark is a smaller length than the 1 inch mark? So centimeters are smaller. To measure the nearest centimeter, look for the halfway mark. If the object is longer than the halfway mark, use the greater number. So just like how we talked about with our inches ruler, our centimeter ruler will also have a halfway mark. That's a line that's a little bit longer than these other lines around it, but not as long as the ones pointing to a number. And you'll find them in between the 2 numbers. That's the halfway mark. And is this red cube a little bit before the halfway mark, between 1 and 2, or a little bit after? It's a little bit after, and it's closer to the number 2 mark, so it's about 2 centimeters long. If the object is shorter than the halfway mark, use the smaller number. So look at here, the paper clip is not quite touching the halfway mark between 3 and 4 centimeters. So I would say it's about 3 centimeters long. So for guided practice and independent practice, you're going to use the centimeter mark on your rulers to measure the objects that it asks you to measure. And because the centimeters are smaller, we can measure things like the width of a shoelace. What I want you to think about is if you would measure in centimeters versus inches, which one is going to have more centimeters or more inches in it? Right? If you measured the width of a chair using inches, would you use fewer inches than centimeters? For numbers 7 and 8, I want you to think about how long 6 centimeters is or how high 10 centimeters is. Does it make sense that a book would be 6 centimeters long or that a desk would only be 10 centimeters high? And then your extra challenge for this is to find an object or toy in your house that is exactly 1 centimeter. Okay, that's it for this math lesson. Goodbye.